For over 500 years, the principles of authenticity have been embedded into the value system of modern society. But what does it really mean to be authentic? When something is authentic, it becomes relatable, identifiable, but also unique and original. Celebrities tend to have a manufactured representation of authenticity, an illusion of what they think the public eye wants them to be. However, if an artist's identity is sometimes too elaborate, then this can present a problem and also explain why many artists choose to play it safe and to conform to what has already been created.
I think making it mainstream is all about how you make it there. I think if you get there in a way that's not authentic, then it's definitely a way that you can lose your core fan base. But if you stay true to what it is that your fans love you for, while trying to evolve and trying to reach a broader audience, I think they'll appreciate your growth. I think they'll grow with you. But if you abandon them in the process of trying to attain mainstream success, then I think you can count on them abandoning you as well.
Many songs, specifically over the last decade, are becoming more and more standardized, and it's reached a certain point that it feels more like a product rather than an expression of individuality. The identity and authenticity of artists also seems to be becoming less and less focused upon by mainstream labels, as they would rather artists keep pumping out song after song, packaging the same melodies, structures and themes, purely because it sells. German philosopher Martin Heidegger hypothesized a theory titled Das Man, which revolves around the principles of a person tending to do what one does rather than what one does not, which could explain popular culture and why many artists have a deep-rooted tendency to conform. Examples of an authentic artist could be things such as someone who writes and releases all their own music, and then on the other end of the spectrum, an example of someone who is non-authentic would be an artist who has a person or team of writers working for them, and are less involved in the creative process. One artist I will be looking at particularly on the subject of authenticity is Amy Winehouse. In 2015, director Asif Kapadia released a documentary titled Amy, which chronicles the beginning of the artist's career and the rise to fame that ultimately ended her life.
Alright, so let's get this tape. No, we'll keep that one. Yeah.
When I started writing the first song about Blade, the other songs just wrote themselves. I really was on a roll. Because I had these feelings, I had these words floating around in me. You write a song, you have to remember how you felt, you have to remember what the weather was like, you have to remember what his neck smelled like, you have to remember all of it.
She would tell me stories about Blake and this tempestuous, extreme relationship.
During the documentary, Amy spoke about how she wouldn't ever write a song unless it was directly related to her own personal experiences, as she felt that she wouldn't be able to tell it right. English author and Professor Richard Dyer wrote the novel Stars in 1979, in which he talked about idols, icons, and authenticity. In his work, he spoke about these subjects in terms of film stars. However, the principles of his work can be easily transferred to music artists. Dyer talked about something called ordinariness and stardom, in which he expresses the ideology that to become a star and to become an icon in the public eye, an artist needs to be both ordinary and extraordinary. This theory basically means to become a star, you need to possess the characteristics of someone who is relatable and ordinary, but also have a talent which allows you to be idolized, something which sets you apart from everyone else. Dyer's theory of stars being both ordinary and extraordinary perfectly resonates with Amy Winehouse. Quote, "I never thought I would be a singer. I mean, I always loved it, but I didn't think there would be any way I could make a career out of it." Amy stated that her dream as a musician was just to play to small audiences in old jazz clubs, and this gives an aura of authenticity and also something called congruence. Congruence is when an artist shows that they don't really have an interest in whether or not they reach fame or success, and they're more concerned about the integrity and also just their love and passion for the music. It seems to overcome wanting to be idolised and worshipped. David Brackett suggests in the chapter of his book that the notion of authenticity can be achieved through performance. Brackett talked about how when folk artist Hank Williams would perform, he would allow no separation between himself and the audience, which gave his shows the feeling of community. This can be a very important aspect of an artist's career and also their performances, making sure that their audience feels connected with themselves. And this can just be reached by being an authentic artist. When the audience is aware that you have written a specific song and it reflects certain stages of your life, then they get a glimpse into your private life, something that isn't always portrayed truthfully in the media, and it brings a sense of togetherness in that moment and in that performance. This idea of community in performance resonates with what Amy Winehouse said about her wanting just to play in old jazz clubs. It gives the impression that the love and passion for her own music and wanting to be connected with her roots and what she grew up listening to was always more important than reaching any sort of success and fame. In our current era, where more and more artists are becoming increasingly dependent on technology and more music is becoming standardised, it can be hard for an artist to have and to keep an authentic voice in the industry. However, if the artist can hold on to their integrity and employ a more DIY approach to their music, in result they are often praised for being original and a true artist. After all, many music listeners out there just want something that they're able to relate to.